I was driving south on Interstate 25, south of Denver, and I see this black object coming up the road, above the road, in the sky. And I thought, that's curious, what is that? As I get close, as we close, I see that it is a solid object. I thought it might have been Canadian geese for a start. I thought it might have been a piece of plastic blown up in the breeze like a kite. But I could see it was a solid object. It was not affected by a breeze in any way. It was flying on a straight course. It looked black. It may have been some color, but because it was silhouetted against the sky, it looked very dark. It looked like a plank. It looked like a board, an oblong shape. It was bizarre. It had a couple of little bumps on the leading edge on one end. I thought, well, if it's just junk, that would be random, perhaps. It certainly wouldn't be symmetrical. And I looked out the other side, and sure enough, it had the identical bumps on the other side of the leading edge. So it was an anomalous object. Could I identify it? Heck no. I couldn't relate to it. It had no sweep back, no anhedral, no dihedral. Didn't have any external power plants, no wings or no tail empennage, flight control surfaces or probes.
A search of the term fast walkers on the internet immediately reveals references that fast walker is a code name used by various government agencies to refer to UFOs, or, as they are sometimes called, non-referenced targets.
Okay, that's holding pretty well. Craft that I recorded that did the 180-degree turn down on this portion of the screen, they're called fast walkers because of their speed. The whole episode took about a half a second to perform or less. We're talking milliseconds. And that kind of lets you know that it's not an Earth satellite that we're looking at because it's moving so fast. Plus the fact our satellites don't change direction 180 degrees without changing speed or 90 degrees. And I have seen many of the shadows go up and do a 90 degree right across the screen. And sometimes you'll see 3 or 4 objects in formation, looks like formation flying, and one will branch off to the left and one will go to the right. Somebody coined the phrase fast walker, and it's appropriate.
The fast walkers are these very rapid moving electrogravitic and anti-gravity disks and craft of various shapes. The National Security Agency actually for a long time had called these ETVs, extraterrestrial vehicles. And from the military who have tracked these objects, and they've been called fast walkers because, as opposed to slow walkers, which are satellites, because they move at enormous speeds. For example, they've been tracked at going tens of thousands of miles per hour in the atmosphere and make a right-hand turn without decelerating. Well, you can't do that with a conventional system. You have to correct for gravity and mass inertia. That's what these things are doing. So these have been tracked on dedicated and classified radar systems. Occasionally, people who are on an ordinary system will pick them up.
Today, the internet is literally alive with websites that are filled with detailed reports, many of which include convincing videos and pictures of unknown crafts and alien-like creatures.
I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I am a sky watcher, UFO hunter. I have a website called seeingufos.com. I had an interest in UFOs my whole life, but officially got started on April 15th of 2004 when I walked my dog in the middle of the night, looked up in the sky and saw some strange lights. I've got over 200 UFO video clips on my website. I'm more interested in the day footage. Now, the day footage is completely different because that's harder to dismiss, you know, so I would have to say every other month it seems like I'm catching something. And I go out every day, pretty much 6 days a week, a couple hours a day. You know, you add all those hours up and that's a lot of time just to catch one thing for 20 seconds. But that's more than most people see in a lifetime, so I think that's better than nothing.
Well, I'm involved in the political resolution of the what we now call, I prefer to call the truth embargo that the government imposed on the facts regarding an extraterrestrial presence. That presence has been established, I think, many times over by the citizen science research that's been going on since the 40s. The government did studies, but they were primarily for show. And the issue, from a government standpoint, has been managed very intensely since '47, at minimum. Managed in the sense that the government was going to deal with it, but deal with it within the national security structure and never acknowledge that there's anything to this. But in fact there is. I mean, we are being engaged as a planet and as a species by other beings, possibly multiple species. This has just been proven beyond any doubt at all. Anyone who reads the research who isn't compromised by being either an idiot or in the employ of the government management of the issue can only arrive at one conclusion. The evidence is overwhelming. Videotape, daylight discs, nighttime discs, photographs, direct pilot sightings by the thousands, millions of sightings around the world, direct testimony from direct government involvement, and of course you've got an entire contactee body of evidence that's now in the tens of thousands of reports.
Now, like never before, astounding events are transcending national and geographical boundaries, currently happening in Brazil and Mexico. Unprecedented UFO sightings are sweeping the entire area of South and Central America. Does the key to understanding UFOs and aliens and their relationship with each of us lay in being able to simply perceive what is in a higher spectrum, like seeing the infrared range or other dimensional frequencies? Images gathered from infrared cameras in Mexico and the special cameras used in Brazil seem to indicate that the aliens in their crafts may in fact be all around us. Jaime Maussan is one of Mexico's foremost journalists. Internationally known and respected for more than 3 decades of journalistic work, his investigations and reporting in the UFO field have made him an icon to UFO researchers worldwide. Jaime's weekly network television show, 60 Minutes, in Mexico reaches millions of people each week and regularly carries segments on the subject of UFOs.
This flap has been recorded in video. It means that we have evidence to prove that something is really happening in the Mexican Republic. The video camera had become the most important instrument to really capture this new reality. Even the Mexican Army, the Air Force in Mexico, recorded UFOs. That the video was given to me, and I released that to the world. In that case, that happened on March the 5th, 2004, the soldiers were able to record something that they couldn't see with their own eyes. And that's amazing. That was the first time someone recorded something that they weren't able to see.
With Jaime Maussan aboard a plane coming from San Antonio to Mexico City, flying over a place called San Luis Potosí to film a UFO following the plane. It was detected by the radars, and I have everything on film. So for us it's normal. Maybe because we're searching for it, maybe because we are trying to look for this reality, maybe they are following us. I don't know, but it happened to me that at least 50 times, maybe more.
There are objects that we cannot see with our own eyes, but they are there, they are watching us. In the last months in Mexico, after thousands of videos, we have been registering some of the most spectacular videos. You can see hundreds and hundreds of objects making formations and flying together, exactly the same thing that you can see in the military video. These formations moving at the same speed, in the same direction, at the same altitude.
As the more one researches, the more one discovers that literally tens of thousands of very credible people of every age, occupation and nationality are claiming that they have had personal contact with either aliens or interdimensional beings.
Credible researchers now say that as many as 60 different species of intelligent, superconscious beings have been interacting with humanity for millions of years.
Physically, they're humanoid. Their skin is as white as a piece of paper. Throughout much of their adult life, they're the same height that I am, 5'11", 6 feet tall. Their eyes are perhaps twice as large as ours, They're typically blue eyes with white pupils, although when they get older, especially the men, their eyes take on a pink shade.